T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Coach on Fire Radio.
Well, hello and welcome to Create a Life You Love with Sarah Shakespeare. Very, very happy to hear you and welcome you to the show this week. It's our first week of 2018. So Happy New Year to you. You know that Create a Life You Love is all about giving ideas and giving guidance and help in creating a life that you love. So every guest that I have on my show is always with having that in mind. So every time you think about creating a life that you love, we all have a different idea of what that means to us. So definitely each time I have somebody on, it's always so that you can walk away with something more than you came with. So do get your notebooks out, do get your phones out to make notes on, and I hope that you really learn something from different things that we speak about this evening. If you don't know who I am, I'm Sarah Shakespeare, and as you can hear, I'm English, but I live in Canada and have done since the year 2000. I call it my millennium move, and I love it here. I live in beautiful British Columbia, which I really love, and I get to travel quite a lot with what I do, and still I come back and love where I live. So I feel really lucky to live in my dream destination. I've been in the health and fitness industry for 25 years, and I was doing personal training back at a time when it wasn't really a known job. Back in 1993, when I started doing it, people had to constantly ask me what I did as my job, and did I really get paid to, help people with their health and fitness and with their goal setting and what food they should eat. So for me, it's definitely been the correct industry for me to go into. I've loved helping people with their life plans and everything to do with their health and fitness over these last few years. It's been amazing for me to do something that I love. So when given the opportunity to have a radio show, and I was asked what I wanted to call that show, and I called it, Create a Life You Love, it just seemed there was no other name for me to pick. It had to be that, because that has definitely been my goal for many, many years, is helping people create a life that they love and they want to go through their life happy. I've been very blessed to have a positive mindset from a very, very early age. It was instilled in me as a child to have a positive mindset and have an attitude where I felt like I could do anything. And my parents really, really encouraged that for me. So easily, by the time I started school, I had a real positive concept that anything I put my mind to was going to be a success. So I have to really thank my parents for that from way back, through every aspect of life, everything I've tried to do and thought about doing. I've always thought that it would be a success, and I've geared towards doing that. So for me to have a career where I was helping people do that, and they would come at me and say, well, Sarah, I can't do that, and I can't do this. For me, it was always a thing that I really felt like you could just about achieve anything, because I felt like I'd done that myself. So I'm a big, big believer in practicing what you preach. I do think that if you're a coach and trainer and you work within the health and fitness industry, I do think that you should be able to live that healthy lifestyle that you're encouraging. So I have gone through the last few years living a healthy lifestyle. I'm 44 now, and I feel really vibrant and energetic still. I have 3 daughters that keep me busy, and it's just that I feel from living a healthy lifestyle that it's really, really helped me help other people. So definitely I'm a person that practice what I preach, love exercise. I've engaged in marathons, I've done half marathons, I've done ultra marathons, and I've done fitness competitions. So I've really competed at a high level of doing different things and know the training and the fitness that takes. So that's why that has been the perfect job for me throughout that time. If you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you know that I talk about the 100-year plan. And I have an absolute passion to live till I'm 100 years old. And one of the main reasons is that I would love to meet my great-grandchildren at some point and give them some wisdom and some knowledge that they take with them through life when I'm not here any longer. But I also would love to see what the world has in store for us. I feel like we've seen so much, I've seen so much in 44 years, I feel like, what am I going to see in the next 56 years? So that's why it's been really, really important for me to make life decisions and health decisions based on being here for the 100th year. So anything risky that people ask me to do, such as swimming with sharks or jumping out of planes or going to the edge of something too close to look over, I don't do. And I simply say to them, it's not part of the 100-year plan. I'm not going to be doing that. So for me, I've tried to live a vibrant life with a few risks, by moving country, that's, a big risk. And luckily it's worked out very, very nicely for me. But I guess that's down to my positive attitude that I have about things. So my guest I have this evening, if you remember back in July, actually, when I started my show, my very first guest that I had on at the beginning was Ed Mannng. And the reason I wanted Ed on as my very first guest is that I found him very inspiring, and I had started to follow him on Facebook after watching a few of his videos that came up on my newsfeed, and I found him to be really, really interesting. And because he was a mature gentleman, obviously on the 100-year plan himself, from being healthy, fit, enthusiastic, positive, had lots of really, really wonderful things to say. So each day I found myself wondering what Ed Mannng was saying that day. He always had so many, for me, great words of wisdom. There were very short videos, just a couple of videos, a couple of minutes, but always had something really, really interesting to say in them, something of impact, and something that you'd kind of think about throughout the day. And so he has actually been on my top 5 of people to watch on my Facebook, definitely since last year. So I'm really happy to have him now on as my first guest of 2018, because I think that he can help us all in motivation for this coming year. When I've spoken to Ed off the air, I feel like I could have spoken to him for 5 hours instead of 1 hour. We have lots of interesting conversation about the same health and fitness type lifestyles that we live, and just that positive mindset and everything that comes around that. So I know by having Ed on again, he's the only guest I've had on for the second time, because I feel that he could really, really help give you some ideas, help you take things away with you that are going to help you, and just things that are going to help enhance your life. I think Ed's got lots of answers for that as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my guest tonight. I'll get him to introduce himself, talk about whatever he would like. We've got some questions here for him, but I think you're going to really enjoy this show. So welcome to the show, Ed. Thank you very much for coming on again. Can you hear me, Ed? Hi, Ed. Is it loud and clear? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ed? Is it clear?
You don't have your speak.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
No, I can't. No,
okay,
no.
I'm going to take my headphones out, actually. I'm going to do it like this because I am keen to get my questions going with you tonight. So I've taken my headphones out so we can have a clear line here, because I couldn't hear you very well then. So could you hear me and how I did the introduction this evening?
No, I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, couldn't you? I was just hyping on about how wonderful you were and how great it was to have you back on from having you as my first guest back in July, and just talking about how I have followed you for a few months and having you on as my top 5 every day and seeing what you're talking about and finding that very, very inspirational, and how I wanted to be able to have that and share that with everybody so they could feel and see everything that I see as far as that positive mindset that you're going with every day and the ideas that you have every day as well. And just want everyone to be able to get that information, walk away with that. So that's what my first 10 minutes were there that you couldn't hear very well.
Okay.
But anyway, so introduce yourself to us, Ed, and let us know what you've been up to, what you do, anything, just in case someone didn't listen to our premiere show in July, tell them about Ed Manning. Tell us about you if we don't know you.
I have quite a diverse background. Number one, I appreciate, love, and adore women in a sense, their potential to shape and shift the world. It is up to the feminine to make the critical decisions to help move us forward. We listened to a beautiful speech by Oprah Winfrey identifying that the imbalance that exists in our world can no longer exist. So it's us as individuals and leaders, thought leaders, to step forward and saying, okay, enough is enough. We've made a conscious decision to join men and women together to be a force that is unstoppable.
Yes. No, that was an amazing speech that she did. I watched it yesterday and I thought that was empowering to say so much in that. She had a 9-minute window and she had so much to say in that time. It was great.
So it's realizing that everything that happens in our lives, we create it. If we want something different, what has to shift is not necessarily our thought process, but how we treat ourselves. The action that we do on a daily basis. Do we practice an attitude of gratitude? Do we actually, are we willing to stand in front of a mirror and say, thank you, thank you, thank you for the ability to breathe, to be standing here, to have the mind, body, and resources that I have access to. We have to quit worrying about what we don't have. Be thankful and grateful for what you already have.
Yeah, so true. Absolutely so true. And I guess that's why I've been able to connect so well with what you say on a daily basis. Even if you say something short, it always has some sort of impact. And those words that you put down, any sayings that you do, photographs you post, anything you do, it just has such an impact in that small thought process. Oh, okay, it's always something so interesting. So you're right. Just that gratitude for being here is how I feel every day. And I try to get that to people. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's being really aware of the stay out of the traps that we get so caught up into. And before we know it, we're so involved and engrossed in it that we can't stop. There's one is disease to please. We have to start realizing we don't need external validation. We don't need somebody else to approve of us. We are just who we are right where we are. We're doing all the best we can. I don't have to do something to get your approval. I only have to be. And that's good enough.
Yeah. And that's true. And that's so good because what I was saying earlier when I did the intro, I know when you replay the show, you'll hear this wonderful intro that I gave you. And I was talking about the 100-year plan. I'm talking about how we have this massive goal to live for a long time and how we want to live a good life, a healthy life in that time. And like you said, it's about showing up and being you and doing the best that you can do and be the best that you can be. And I love that you think it's so much gratitude comes back each time into that conversation.
We have to be aware of that we are crafting and designing the next 7 to 10 generations by our action and our inactions. We have to be consciously aware of what we engage in. Prioritize our days that feed us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. Those need to be our priority. We don't know how to feed ourselves. Become authentic. A lot of us are dealing with vulnerability.